let's create the first contact form. Add new, call it step 1, create the form. Now what we want to do is step 1 form is to add the minimal amount of data that you would like to have for a lead. And remember, the more fields you add, the less likely a lead who comes to your page will actually fill out the form. So we're going to add 4 fields. First field will be the name. Second field will be their email address. And I also like to ask them for their phone number. Sometimes they supply the phone number, sometimes they just want to put the email address. But we give them the option. And last, we want to ask them for the street address. And probably you also want the zip code so we can actually look at the house. So this is the basics for the first contact form. So you update that form. And now what you have to do on contact form number 1, in addition, is to, when they hit the submit form, we want them to be redirected to the contact form number 2. And we do this by going to Form Settings, Confirmation. Click on Default Confirmation. You want to edit that. And now the standard message they have up after the confirmation is just thanking them for filling out the confirmation. We don't want to do that just yet. We want to redirect them to another contact form. So we select redirect, and then for the redirect URL we type in the full web page address or URL for the step 2 form. I have it pre-typed out down here. Now pay attention and remember what you used for the page name, because you'll need that when you set up page number 2. Now also an added bonus with the Gravity forms is the ability to pass data from the first contact form to the second contact form. This is nice for pre-populating fields so the user doesn't have to type in the same information twice. So we check that box, and now we have to tell it which fields to pass to the second contact form. So we want to pass name. But before I get started, the name field is a default system name, a default system field for WordPress, and if you use that, you'll get an error. It's tough to figure out. It took me a half hour to figure out that name can't be used, so I use full name. Say equals, and use this drop down to select the field. This drop down has all the fields that you have in the current contact form. Now use an ampersand to separate the field names. So now we want to do email equals email, phone equals phone, address equals street address, and finally zip equals zip. This has to be typed out this way exactly. There can't be any spaces or line breaks. Now we save this confirmation, and there you have it. Step 1 contact form is complete. We can preview it by clicking here. There's no formatting to it because I haven't added anything, but you get the basic idea. Okay, now let's add the step 2 contact form. This contact form is going to ask the lead for more information. Let's add new, call it step 2, create the form. We're going to add the same fields that we had before, start out with, so name. And then to go along with this, we also have to say that we want this field to be auto-populated. So we have to come down into the Advanced tab, select Allow Field to be populated dynamically, and supply the name that we gave it in step 1. So full name. Remember, in the query string that we were passing along, we said we can't use just name. We have to use something else because name is a system WordPress field. So we use full name. So this one's set up. We'll add email. Click on Advanced. Check the box to allow dynamic population. Email. Now we're going to add phone. Now address. And lastly, for the dynamically populated fields, we're going to put in the zip code. So here are the 5 fields we used before that will be pre-populated. Now we want to also enter in, we want to get the city and the state for the address. This city. State. And then along with this basic information, I like to get things like number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. Now a few other items. Try to add them a little quicker. These are open-ended questions like when do you need to sell by, and how much will you take, or better yet, what is the least you can take to sell now. And lastly is, why are you selling? Alright, so those are the fields. We have the pre-populated fields up top and these open-ended additional items down below. I usually have quite a few more fields and questions to ask the end user, but for this case I'm just going to have these. So now we update the form, and now step 2 contact form is complete. We can preview it here. Again, we have no formatting, so it's just your basic form. Now let's create the pages so we can test these forms out. On the page, add new, call this step 1, add form, select the form from drop down, step 1, insert into form. Now I want to do a little formatting, so I want to get rid of the sidebar, but this is going to be very plain, so let's save. We can preview this. There you go, basic contact form information. With page 1 created, now let's create the second page. Add new, call this step 2, add step 2 contact form, insert into form, take off the sidebar, just personal preference. And now one other thing I want to mention before we save this and publish it is that the permalink. Remember back in creating the step 1 contact form and the redirect page, this was the web page address that I wanted you to remember, and I use step -2. So this is okay. Hit OK. Save this and publish. Let's preview this form. And here's your step 2 page. Now that everything's set up, the last thing we need to do is just test it out. So here's the step 1 contact form. Just put in some dummy data. Main Street 00000. Now we'll submit. And now we've properly forwarded to step 2 contact form. Step 2. And this part up here is the query string, which is the data that was on step 1 being passed to contact form step 2. We scroll down, we can see that the name, email, phone, address, and zip have all been pre-filled. So they just have to fill in the rest of the information and then hit submit. When I hit submit, I will get a email notification and they will be forwarded to a thank you page. I mean, you could even go crazy and forward this to another contact form, but that might be a little too much.